Good morning. I am so excited to be connected with you all. We have both the Dreamchasers in the house, the Dreamchasers organization, and the LA Style Magazine community. Today's masterclass is going to be on mastering self-leadership. This is going to be with a Maxwell certified coach, Judy Stella. She's also the VP of Human Capital at a very large organization that she runs with her husband for health insurance. Before I go ahead and bring on Judy, I'm going to give her a proper introduction and share with you all just a little bit more about her. And before I share with you her professional bio, for me personally, as the founder and editor-in-chief of LA Style Magazine, I've been blessed to meet a wide array of individuals from different professions. And Judy stood out to me when I met her a few years ago because she really spoke life into me personally as a young mom, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, in these skill sets that she's going to teach you all today in mastering self-leadership. And she's just such a servant leader. She's such a gift. I'm so excited to bring her and share her all with you today. So here's for her professional bio, so you guys all have a little bit more insight on her. Judy Stella is a licensed clinical social worker with extensive experience dedicated to supporting children and families. This truly is Judy's heart. Her commitment to helping and empowering others stems from her personal journey of overcoming adversities during her childhood and early adulthood. A Maxwell Leadership Certified Trainer and Coach, Judy channels her passion into adding value to people's lives and helping them realize their potential. Renowned as a mentor and public speaker, she remains committed to her lifelong journey. Currently, she's a vice president of human capital at Stella Health Insurance Agency. She draws upon her extensive background in social work to enhance the organization's mission. She demonstrates an unwavering dedication to nurturing positive and inclusive workplace culture. She leads initiatives to foster collaboration and empowerment among all team members. Aside from her professional accolades, Judy's a devoted mother to 2 small children and resides with her husband in Manhattan Beach. So without further ado, I welcome to the stage my dear friend, a life coach and wonderful human being, Judy Stella.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, good morning, Trisha. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. You know, I appreciate you and I adore you. So thank you. It's an honor to be here with you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's get started. Before we dive in, I did email a handout that I'm sure it's going to get disseminated to all of you. I didn't do any PowerPoint slides because my vision for today's masterclass is to be fully present. And I know when we have slides, we're so tempted to write everything down word by word, and I didn't want that for us today. So today is an invitation to join me, to be present. So before we begin, I'm going to ask all of us to take 2 deep breaths, and there's a purpose for this. So if you would like to join me, please take 2 deep breaths. For some of us, that might be a little bit of relief. For others, that might make us feel anxious, a little nervous, because we are so accustomed to be on the go, hurry. We have to do more. We have to hustle. And all of that does have a place and an important role in our lives, especially if we are growing our families, if we're active leaders in our community, or if we are expanding our businesses. That definitely has a time and place. But today's masterclass is a reminder and invitation to focus and cultivate self-leadership with an open heart, with tremendous courage, with my hope that that will bring clarity into your life. So what is the art of self-leadership? John Maxwell says that leadership is defined by influence, nothing more or nothing less. So our ability to lead others, our teams, our families, is to influence. And I want to be mindful today and encourage you and challenge you to really take a moment to think about what is influence. Influence can be something positive, can be something inspiring. It could include vision. It can include passion. It could include integrity. It could encompass so much. But for today, I want you to focus on the intentionality of that influence and how that comes back to you. How is that relate to you? How can you embody intentionality and influence to your own thoughts, ideas, visions? How does that influence your own behaviors, how you show up for yourself and how you show up for others in your organization, in your family? So that includes behaviors and, importantly, decisions. How do we decide? What are the pivotal choices we make every day in our lives? And that, more important than anything, how does it align with our highest values and the overall vision that we have for our lives, for ourselves? So with that said, it's not about perfection. It's about cultivating self-awareness. And that, my friends, it's a daily practice. It is something that growth and awareness does not happen automatically. We have to be intentional. We have to influence our personal growth and our self-leadership. With that comes a very important duty and responsibility, and that is taking personal responsibility and making sure that all of our actions are aligned with that self-leadership. When does self-leadership become the most important thing in our lives? When no one is watching, when you are feeling overwhelmed, when you are feeling spread thin, when you are faced in making those hard choices, those difficult decisions, when you reach a crossroad where you're not sure if you need to go left or right or continue to go straight. When life throws you curveballs and you're like, no, but I decided to go left, and you experience a crisis, a hardship, an unexpected event, and you start doubting yourself and you start questioning, did I make the right decision? So this comes to mind when maybe we feel discouraged or we feel like we failed and now we have to pick up the pieces. Now we have to begin again. So those are the elements where we are called to really cultivate self-leadership in our lives. And we can't lead others, we can't lead our families or our team members or even our community if we're not leading ourselves in a way that feels aligned, in a way that inspires us to continue the path that we're called to be on, right? Does that mean that because you're not fully self-developed that you can't continue to develop others? Not at all. It's not black and white. You can continue to lead others, but don't forget about the most important person in that room, and that's you, yourself. Sometimes we forget, we put ourselves in the back burner. We don't take the time that we need to re-energize, to recharge, to feel inspired again. So John says all the time, the toughest person to lead is always ourselves. And I have this personal rule that keeps me aligned both in business and in my personal life, is that I cannot have higher standards for others than I hold myself at the same standard or responsible for. So we can lead others at the same time that we continue to lead ourselves with confidence, with courage, with clarity, and our capacity without a doubt will continue to expand. So I want to share with you 3 core elements of self-leadership. One is self-awareness. You have to pause, you have to allow for time for reflection, to think about your day, to think about the person you are, to think about how you're showing up for yourself and others. You need to think about your strengths, the areas of growth, opportunity where you can continue to grow yourself, your behaviors, your patterns, what triggers you, what brings joy to you, and of course, values. Okay. The second core element is self-regulation. How do you regulate internally when something unexpected happens, when you're going through a life crisis, when something in your business, comes to a complete halt and you're not sure how you're going to maneuver this pivot? All of these things are part of the life experience. We're not exempt, none of us. We sometimes, I think, fall into this trap that many of us on here probably have reached a level of success already, and we feel good. And we think because we reach this level of success, like that's we've arrived, like we're good. And so when something unexpected happens, we feel discouraged and defeated, and we think, oh my gosh, like I just wasn't expecting this for myself. But it's going to happen because that is the law of life. We are going to continue to meet these unexpected events. But what we have to be real with ourselves, and we have to be willing and courageous to look in the mirror, is that all of us may be operating under a limiting belief or a invisible ceiling that we've tapped into our highest ability and skills and knowledge and insight. And we need to be open and practice humility to face that and say, you know what, I need additional support, or I need additional mentoring, or I need a coach, or I need to tap into and restructure my community of who's supporting me because I reached a limit, an invisible lid that maybe we weren't aware of. And we have to continue to raise that lid so that we can continue to grow and prosper in everything that we're trying to accomplish. Okay. Number 3, the core element, it is going to take tremendous courage and vulnerability, not only with others. You cannot just display for others, but with yourself, to have those difficult conversations with yourself and reflect on, why am I stuck? Why am I not making progress? Why am I struggling with this facet of my life? When our behaviors are not aligned with the vision or the core values that we set out for ourselves and the people that we're leading. So those are the 3: self-awareness, self-regulation, and the third one is courageous vulnerability, having those hard, real, crucial conversations, even when we feel uncomfortable or when we feel scared. Okay. So with that, I want to introduce a framework that I've been using for many years that has been helpful to me. It's a 5-step model that I've used to cultivate intentional self-leadership, because self-leadership and personal growth does not happen automatically. I think many of us reach our peak at puberty when we turn 18, 20 years old, and physically, outwardly, we stop growing. And sometimes we forget that the internal, the part inside of us, will stop growing if we're not intentional about growing ourselves and developing ourselves as we need along our journey. So that it's an acronym. It is the HEART framework, HEART, and that framework is provided to you on that one handout that I shared. And the H stands for holding space for yourself. How many of you, if you look at your calendar, have scheduled 5 minutes for yourself to self-reflect, to self-check in? It could be early in the morning, it could be midday, it could be late at night. Everybody's clock is different. Some people say, I'm too tired. Some people that I coach say, I'm too tired at the end of the night. I just pass out, I fall asleep. Okay, maybe the nighttime is not a good time for you. But if you're a morning person, in the morning, can you drink your coffee or your tea, or during your morning routine or ritual, can you allow yourself for 5 minutes to take deep breaths, to take a self-check-in? I keep it very simple. I ask myself, what is my sunny? What is my stormy? And what is my rainbow? I do this even with my children. The sunny, it was like, what was my highlight of today? What was something that I feel proud of? Something that, wow, I knew I had to do this today. I had to have this difficult conversation, and I'm so proud of myself for having the courage, and it went well. Or, I've been sitting on this idea of a new business strategy or new partnership, and I've just been intimidated, and I haven't reached out to the potential business partner. But today I did. I sent out an email. That was first step. So that is your sunny. That is your highlight. Your stormy is what didn't go well today. What rained on your day today? What felt difficult or challenging today? That's your stormy. And then your rainbow is, what do you have to look forward to? Even though you had a stormy 5 minutes or a new incident that happened in your organization that you're not quite sure how to handle, but what is your rainbow? What do you have to look forward to tomorrow or the rest of the week? Or what plan can you put in place that's going to help you take on that new challenge, right? So if sunny, stormy, or rainbow is too many parts, you can just ask yourself two simple questions. What am I feeling? What's going on with me right now? And then secondly, which I think is equally important, if not more important, is what do I need today? Because of self-leaders, again, we tend to put ourselves in the back burner. And we have to remember that we are human beings of value. We have inherent worth and value. And in order to exude that for others, in order to lead by example, walk the walk, we have to do self leadership. We have to have a plan and practice that we can go to every day and ask ourselves, what do I need today? Why does it matter? Because as leaders, we hold space and we do so much for others. We add value to everyone around us. It's so important that we also feed ourselves and nourish ourselves in the same way. Okay, moving on. E, embrace emotional agility. That can tie in emotional intelligence, emotional awareness, social awareness. But emotional agility is the practice of using your own feelings and emotions as information to help you guide you rather than trying to change or control how you're feeling or the emotions you're experiencing. So there's a big difference in what I just said. And many times, because we're on the go, we're putting out fires, we just want to move on to the next thing, we suppress, we ignore, or we get distracted by the next thing on our to-do list. And that might work short term, but eventually all those things accumulate. And then you go in overflow. And then the next crisis happens, or the next difficult conversation happens, and you're easily triggered, and you go from 0 to 100 with feeling frustrated or feeling upset or disappointed at something that's happening. So that emotional agility, being in touch with what's happening internally with you, emotionally, mentally, right, will allow you to give you that information, and you will be able to see and receive that information. Okay. And the emotional agility can help you take a step back to make better decisions based on your values and goals instead of reacting on impulse because you're triggered at that moment. Okay. Letter A, ask with curiosity, not criticism. During difficult times, we can be so hard on ourselves. Okay. So instead of being harsh and critical with ourselves, how about you invite yourself to a place of curiosity where instead of saying, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? I can't believe I missed those early warning signs in the beginning of that business relationship. I can't believe this person did this to me, or a family member. Anything that can come from a life experience right now. So instead of asking yourself, what is wrong with me? Because that's not going to be helpful to you. Instead, ask, what is happening within me? So this allows you to build this psychological safety internally with yourself. There is a time and place where you seek outside counsel, wisdom from a seasoned mentor, someone that you trust, that you feel safe with. But we have to be very mindful about when we're seeking that outside counsel for wisdom and insight, because we're coming from a place of humility and we want to be open-minded and we want to be coachable. And when are we falling into the trap of we're seeking that external validation, that we are being paralyzed in our fear because the road ahead looks uncertain. And so now we're seeking this extra validation or these, subtle signs that will make it okay. And then we can take the next step. There's a big difference. And I think many of you in here know what I'm talking about. So creating that psychological safety inside you. Okay. So an example that I like to give you is, how can we reframe a question or that negative, harsh internal self-talk of, I really screwed this up, or why did I mess this up, to, gosh, what is this situation here for trying to teach me? Okay, there's always lessons. John says, sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. And that is the reframe of the old saying, sometimes we win and sometimes we lose, because even if plans don't turn out the way we envisioned, right? Or the way we originally planned. There's always a lesson to learn that we can tap into and use it as we move forward. The letter R, to respond and don't react. And this is where that 3 breath rule comes in. And I ask you to join me at the beginning of the masterclass, because I don't think most human beings practice this, what I call sacred rule, the sacred pause. To pause is specifically when we are triggered, specifically when we feel overwhelmed with life and business, when we are scared out of our minds and we're not sure how to get back to ourselves. Respond versus react. Reaction is a fast fear-based, right? Where maybe we feel attacked, where we feel underestimated, where we feel, discouraged. But a response is thoughtful and it's value-based. We give ourselves the grace and the sacred pause to regulate ourselves and to respond in a way where I like to say I can honor my own dignity and preserve the dignity of the person or the human being in front of me, because that comes from values. That is one of my top 3 values. Is I believe dignity, inherent worth, and value of myself and the other person is at the forefront of every conversation and every decision that I make of my relationship with that person. Okay. Last but not least, T, talk with truth. And I added a little plus sign with tenderness because when appropriate, I do believe there's a special gift in allowing ourselves to be tender. And tender can be vulnerability, it could be transparency. Every relationship, interaction, conversation is going to require something different, obviously. But with that last T for heart, there's a 3V conversation model that I like to use. And those 3Vs are voice, values, and vulnerability. The voice, it has 2 parts to it. The voice, it is what is the voice inside my head, inside my heart that is speaking? What is it saying to me? And then secondly, how do I find my voice? That once I've taken the time to really reflect and to develop a plan, how do I want to have this conversation? How do I want to approach this business opportunity? How do I want to approach this individual that we need to have this difficult, crucial conversation? Many times, many of us and a lot of leaders, we can't find our voice. We shake at the thought of advocating for ourselves, of speaking our truth, for many reasons. Our childhood, the way we were raised, some trauma, some painful, difficult experiences that we've had that shut us down and we lost our voice. So how do we begin to find our voice? And even if our voice shakes, how can we show up and have that difficult conversation and take rest and confidence in that I want to share something with honesty, with integrity, because I'm coming from a place that I care. Okay. Values. Why does this matter to you? If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling hurt or upset or disappointed or frustrated, what is it communicating to you? Very likely, many times, it's a violation of one of your values. So your body and your mind is trying to communicate something to you. And now that you've identified it, you own the responsibility to be able to communicate that to yourself first, and then to the individual or the opportunity that's in front of you. And lastly, vulnerability. Vulnerability to me has transformed my life tremendously, both personally and professionally. It's not easy. Some people think or believe vulnerability is a sign of weakness, that if you're vulnerable in a conversation or in a relationship, that it could lead for that person to use it against you, for that person to take advantage of you. It can happen. I know it's happened for me in my life. But what I've come to realize, that at the end of the day, then it is part of my journey. It is part of my path, And if that means that there was a relationship was dissolved because of my transparency and my communication, I always check myself. Did I respect the individual in front of me? Did I speak with transparency and honesty by preserving their dignity? And if my answer is yes, and the outcome is still that that business partnership dissolved, or that relationship with in the community took a different shift, that's okay. I'm okay with that because I know that I have this model, this protocol that I follow, and I can move forward knowing that I followed and respected that model for myself. Okay. So those are the three V's in conversation model: voice, values, and vulnerability. That it's not going to be easy to say, but it's real for me. I'd like to give you two examples, personal and professional, so that you have an idea how we can integrate these two frameworks, the heart framework and the 3V conversation framework. Okay, one is in my personal life. I grew up in a home with my single mother where our environment was very unhealthy. There was a lot of physical, verbal, emotional abuse. For many years, I didn't understand why my mother behaved certain ways, why she abused us in all these ways, because I loved my mother and all I really wanted was her approval and her acceptance. And I wanted her to be proud of me. And for years, I did have to work through layers of anger and resentment and hurt and pain. And as I got older and I went through therapy and I had life mentors that poured into me, that counseled me, and I worked through that pain and hurt, and I was able to face that and take responsibility of my own life by honoring my pain and hurt and also becoming a mother myself, is when I decided to have a pivotal conversation with my mother, where for the first time I saw my mother as another human being on this earth with inherent worth and value, where I was able to, for a moment, put aside any labels, any harsh judgment or criticism that I had felt and experienced, as valid as it was for me, because I had every right to feel the way that I did. I was able to have a conversation with her with vulnerability, with transparency, and with dignity. And that day, I was able to see my mom as a human being and extend the grace towards her that I had been extended throughout the last 20 years of my life. And that became a pivot in our relationship. That became my ability to have honest conversations with others, to speak my truth and honor my truth, to align my actions with my core values, to respect and honor the dignity of having my mother in front of me. And that changed our relationship to where I was able to honor the boundaries with her. And she, in turn, was able to, even though it was difficult, it was never an easy path to embark on, but she was able to work through some things and she was open to resources and she was able to support. I understand that that's not always the outcome for all of us. And hence why I say my relationship with my mother today is the greatest miracle I've experienced in my life, because I understand I'm also grounded in reality. I also understand that human relationships are complex, that human beings, we have beautiful gifts, but we also have these challenges. Hence why the self-leadership more than ever is so important in your life today. Okay. So that is one example where having an honest conversation with my mother, a place from my heart, has been able to transform our life. My second example is a professional example. My husband and I have a health insurance agency, and part of having an organization and the responsibility as leaders is that we have the duty and responsibility to equip, to add value to others, to ensure that we continuously pour into them through training, through professional development, through making ourselves available to them, to mentor them and guide them, and making sure that they are aligned with our organizational core values. And if you're growing a business, secondary to that is we know we have to expand, we have to grow. There's other things that come into place: marketing, operations, finances, people development, revenue, right? We have to have those SOPs in place, those systems of operations. Like, there's a lot that comes into having a business and growing and expanding a business. But we had these two independent agents. They were a couple, and they were top producers, and they were great people when they onboarded our organization. But throughout the following 2 or 3 years, we started noticing a change in their attitude and their energy and their behavior. And that was, something that my husband and I would have conversations, because we believe that, just the first misunderstanding or the first behavior, it doesn't mean that they're not coachable, but we have the responsibility of having a conversation in a timely manner, where we sit down and we find our voice, where we remember our values, and we gently identify with them, like, hey, we have noticed this, and we give concrete examples, and making sure that we're not attacking the person or their character, but sticking to the facts. Like, look, this is what we have observed, and we're bringing this up to your attention because we value and we care about you, and we see the tremendous value that you bring into our organization. But help me understand what is happening with this situation, because we don't see it, and we connect it back to our values, right? Because that is our heart and soul. And we bring it up, and they were not receptive. They became defensive. They were not willing to commit to an informal agreement of, like, moving forward. These are the behaviors, these are the expectations that we require to be part of our organization. And it didn't matter that they were top producers. We know the vision long term of the organization. We just knew that it was no longer a good alignment anymore. So we made that difficult decision after the second conversation that we had to give them their release, because they were not aligned with our values and our overall organization vision and the direction that we were heading. So those are the two examples, personally and professionally, that come to mind for me to really exemplify these two frameworks and the importance of self-leadership. So we're kind of coming towards end. I do want to give some time if you have questions for me, but a gentle reminder that we don't need to have all the answers to be a self leader, to be efficient, to be able to lead others. We just don't have to have all the answers. But what we do need, and why I said that breathing moment at the beginning of our time together was important, is because we do need to practice how to be present with ourselves and others, how to be present, and practice self-awareness, and how to leave ourselves first with an open heart, with courage, and with that clarity will come into our lives. Because clarity is not this lightning bolt, it's not this epiphany, it's not this one time, like, I got clarity, I feel great, I feel motivated, let's go. Those are ebbs and flows of part of life, of doing life together. But clarity comes into stepping into the unknown, into stepping into uncomfortable and difficult conversations, into having one foot in what feels comfortable and taking the next foot and having it in the other, out of our comfort zone, and saying, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to develop myself. I'm going to enhance my emotional intelligence and self-awareness so that I can continue to be the leader I aspire to be every day. So lead with heart, because the world doesn't need perfect leaders. It just needs present ones. So I hope today you're able to take that. And as the last thing I want to offer you, in these two reflection questions are part of your handout. And my offer to you today is, if you take the time by the end of the week to ponder and reflect on these questions for yourself, and you email me whatever you feel comfortable emailing me. I will go ahead and select 3 individuals where you can have a one-on-one conversation with me afterwards, if you choose to. So these are the 2 questions that I'll leave you with. One is, what area of my life is asking for deep honesty, for deep self introspection, where I can move forward with courage and alignment? And what would leading myself with integrity and dignity look like in that space? Okay, that's question number one. And question number two is, if I fully trusted myself, self trust is part of this today, what bold, purpose driven, or values driven decision would I finally give myself permission to make today? So those are my two questions to you. If you can journal or write a small paragraph on it and email it to me at judy@pivotalchoices.com, I will select 3 individuals to have a one-on-one coaching conversation with me. Yes, Trisha, thank you so much for putting it on there. So thank you for your time, for being present, for adding value to yourself. This is for you. And I'll give it back to Trisha so we can take a few questions.
Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I took so many notes.
Yay!
You always just bring such a grounded perspective of, I feel like, life, and being really like empathetic. And like you said, like that statement of how do I preserve their dignity and mine, and taking that sacred pause is so, so important. And then, because that sacred pause allows you to identify values, like what's the point of the conversation here? Like, it's to identify values and make sure that they're honored, that you're honored, everybody can be honored. It's really beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
I have, so let's see, there was one question that I have, and then we dropped in the chat. If anybody wants to join in, you just have to click the link. Judy has with us about 7 more minutes, but you just have to click this link, and then you'll get invited to the stage to ask your question. Or you could drop your question in the chat.
Yeah, we have like 10 minutes. We're good. Yes, let's take some good questions, guys, please.
Okay, great. And then just a couple of things. I see Sasha saying, thank you so much. This will be the sunny of my day. That says amazing. I saw TC dropped a couple points in there. She said, truly inspiring. Amani, thank you for sharing your beautiful experience. So lots of people just sharing the love right back at you. So thank you
so much.
Dina said, I love that. So awesome. So one of the things that you mentioned, and this is my question for clarity,
Yes.
is when you were speaking of like reflection, taking that 5 minutes and really identifying, like, what is it? How are you responding, again, with self-leadership when nobody is watching? You give yourself a moment to analyze how you're showing up. And then all these points were some of the things that you mentioned. What triggers you? How do you regulate internally when unexpected events happen? And then what I wrote down was, are you going to your limiting beliefs? A lot of times we can identify surface level if we're operating from limiting beliefs because everything's dandy. But when you hit a moment where it's a trigger, or it's a hard moment where you feel like offended or attacked or disrespected or whatever that is, which could be a misinterpretation, but something is going on there that you feel that, are you operating from a limiting belief? And those could be many things, but I feel like it's such beauty in our growth to be able to take a moment, to take 5 minutes to reflect daily, because you don't have to keep on reliving those limiting beliefs or those triggers if we pause and we can identify and like grow from them. So I thought that was so beautiful. And I guess my question is that what you meant? Is that how you
Yes,
identify?
absolutely. That's exactly what I meant. Absolutely. You know, depending on our background experience, how we grew up, where we grew up, our environment, the community where we were raised, you know, sometimes our environment, it wasn't supportive. It was harsh. It was critical for many years. I mean, you know, I personally believe, like, it's God's grace that I've been able to live a life so far, a life of significance. Yes, I've achieved a lot of external success. I went to college. I have a successful business. I have a stable home. Like, there's a lot of these wonderful successes that in the beginning, they're very important, right? It's like Maslow's hierarchy needs. Like we need to have those basic needs met in order for us to work towards the pyramid to self-actualization, where we're not in survival anymore, but we can be in a place of uh, transforming success to a life of significance, right? So now we have all this, but what does it mean? How do I continue to cultivate it where I'm not in survival mode, where I'm not operating from, a 9, 10 year old, inner child hurting and feeling less than or not feeling worthy. But now I am.
Mm.
Now I not only like have a positive affirmation, but I can feel it in my core. I can feel it. And because I can feel it and I can experience it in a holistic way, then I'm able to take chances on myself. I'm able to say yes to opportunities where maybe in the past I would turn them away or shy away from them because I didn't feel worthy or deserving of them.
So good. So
Yeah.
good. Let's see. We have Christina Martinez said, "Hi, Judy. Thank you so much for your time. This was great. What strategies do you use to remain calm and professional when another agent is being difficult?"
Yeah. The sacred pause. Seriously, like I know this is feels foreign. It feels like out of this planet because we weren't modeled that. I mean, I know I wasn't, and so it's not going to be one time today in the masterclass. I'm going to encourage you and challenge you to keep practicing it every day if you can. Like I do it when I drop off my kids to school. I will turn on the car and say, all right, everybody join me, 3 deep breaths, you know, especially because when we are triggered, when we are dealing with a difficult personality or attitude, right? We pause, and it's okay to have practice phrases already in your box tool. You can say something like, "Whew, it feels really intense right now. I'm going to need 5 minutes. Can we come back in an hour to continue this conversation?" That's okay to say, because I'd rather say that and acknowledge that this is difficult than me react out of my trigger and make the situation more difficult or worse, because we can do that too. I mean, I've been there. Part of taking responsibility is there's been times where I haven't responded in a way that I would have liked. And so hence why I think this work and practice is so important that we do.
So good. And then TC has another question, and just to kind of add on a solution, there is our daughter Penny. She got some insight from a counselor that was saying they call it the brownies or the cookie sheet. So you put your hands out and you just breathe in like you're smelling the sweet brownies and breathing out, but those deep breaths. But
Yes.
even for a young child up to adults, I'd say, Christina, one of your solutions could be stepping away and going to the bathroom. Sometimes
Yes.
if I'm in a professional setting or even with family, like, they may not get it, and I may understand that they're not going to get it. So before I can even say, I need some time to revisit this conversation, I just need to have some time alone. I need to go to the bath. You can always excuse yourself to go to the bathroom. Excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom, breathe a little bit, and then I pray to invite God into the situation for his guidance and his help. But let's go to TC's question. Judy, love what you said about being vulnerable. How can leaders model vulnerability without undermining their authority or credibility?
Um, I would want to reframe that, because again, like I said earlier, vulnerability for a lot of people is like, I think we have to digest a little bit what vulnerability is. I feel if you are speaking from a place of truth, like I myself, like what leader would I need or would I want today? I would want someone that can speak to me with the truth, that could speak to me with confidence and connect it back to what the values are. So vulnerability is an opportunity to show up authentically. Okay. And I think we need to reframe that for ourselves, that it's not a weakness. It's not that we become a doormat. It's not that we let things slide or that we turn the blind eye or that we ignore problems. On the contrary, it's really having the courage to look at that person directly and say, hey, we need to address this. We need to have this conversation. And, based on your behaviors or how you're showing up, this is what it's doing for me. I'm not feeling confident in your ability to lead this team, and not worrying about hurting their feelings. Because I think if you communicate again with respect and tactfulness, you don't have to compromise truth. We can have both. It doesn't have to be black and white. You can be truthful, and I think every human being, part of preserving their dignity is being able to speak truth to them, even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, so good. Let's see if I think there's one more question here. This is Sasha. Hi, Judy. What techniques are useful to gaining your voice again? Sometimes we go through traumatic experiences, like you said, that affect our voice.
Okay, this is not a one answer question. This is for me personally, I'll give you my personal example. It has been a lifelong journey or process. It has been through different avenues. It's been through, traditional Western psychotherapy. It's been through mentorship. It's been through spiritual religion, higher power, God, source. It's been through cultivating a safe community for myself, people that support me, that encourage me, that hold me accountable, when I'm not aligned. It's been through the last year writing my own memoir book and sharing my story. It's been the opportunity to have these crucial conversations with people, even though my voice shakes. But if I had to sum it up to one thing, it's my self leadership and learning and practicing how to trust myself. Because for years, I was still waiting for my mother to apologize for how she hurt us and the pain she caused. It was waiting for the perpetrator that abused me when I was little, and I disclosed the abuse to my mother and denied it and called me a liar. And so I carried that guilt and shame for years. And I want to say, and I'll leave this on a very empowering note, I had the opportunity to have that crucial, difficult conversation with that perpetrator 30 years later and speak my truth. And I wasn't seeking, an apology or for me to forgive him or anything. It was my ability to find my voice, and that I can self-validate, that I know what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling, and I myself can trust myself to recognize and validate that those are my experiences, and I can move from there.
I love that. Truth with oneself. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to put your book, if you guys are looking for a powerful read, transformative read, check it out. It's amazing. I have a copy. And thank you so much, Judy. You're such a
You're
blessing
welcome.
to all of us, as always. Thank you for being a light. I know Linda had shared some techniques that she does as well. If you guys want to check it out in the chat about 5
Yes,
sentences.
grounding. That's
Grounding
also a good
sentences.
one. Absolutely.
Good. So, but yes, thank you, Judy.
You're very welcome.
And I hope
Thank
you have.
you to your platform, and thank you to you, Trisha and Joseph. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and to everybody that chimed in with us today. Like, thank you for investing in yourself, because remember, we are people of value that need to add value to ourselves in order to add value to others. So I appreciate you all.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the PDF. Stay tuned. We'll send it in the recap video where you can watch us again. I know I am. I took notes, but I feel like there's more I can get. And this PDF is so phenomenal. So hang tight for a minute. I have a couple announcements. Thank you so much, Judy. I'll be in touch with you a little later
Bye,
today.
everyone. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow, so great. I wish I could see all of your wonderful faces and get to hear from you, but we did get a chance to see what you put in the chat, and that was wonderful. I hope this was a blessing for you today. We have two announcements. One, if you're in the local area, we do have our Redlands office grand opening happening on June 27th. There will be a link coming up here soon for you to register for that event. It's going to be amazing networking, connecting with the community, and announcing our new branch manager, Shanaz Kadafar, and the office being recognized as EXP Luxury. Very, very excited about that. Additionally, if you are in the local Southern California area and you would like to join us for a woman empowered hike, we will be doing that on June 14th, Saturday, June 14th at 8 a.m. We're going to be at 1,000 Steps Beach in Laguna Beach. The link is right there. I believe she's going to share a flyer here in just a moment. We'd love to have you guys join us. There's also July 12th, which is going to be co-ed. So guys, come on out, bring your friends, bring your family. Everybody can come out on Saturday, July 12th, co-ed hike and beach day for the Dreamchasers organization. And those of you here at the LA Style community, you're invited to join as well. Great way to build community and to get to see one another. So thank you again for today, and we look forward to seeing you soon.